Hello everyone, and today I'm going to be talking a little bit about my experience with Fallout 4, which, in case you're wondering, I got on the PS4, which you can see from the live stream I did. I'm going to try and be a bit more formal about this one than I have in previous videos. So I've got a list of good things that I thought about the game, and I'm gonna start with the good, then go to the bad, then go to my gripes, and then the overall.
I'm coming, buddy.
There's only one gripe. So okay. What's good about the game? Well, the base building, I think, brings a whole new aspect to the game that, I mean, obviously, but that it's going to bring a lot of other people in who enjoy that kind of thing, maybe some Minecraft-esque people, not exactly, but, you know, maybe it'll kind of help them step into that kind of thing. The main story itself the conclusion to it is much more solid than in 3, at least at the launch of 3, where you just, I don't want to spoil anything, but let's just say, I know it's an old game, but let's just say 3's ending was controversial and was not exactly satisfying. But as for 3 and 4, comparisons between the two, the gameplay actually remains incredibly similar between the two. There's only a few things that are missing, and to be honest, most of those were the busy work aspects, like repairing your weapon, which, to be honest, was always a fucking chore. It's kind of been replaced now by repairing power armor if you choose to run around in that all the time. I mean, that has its own costs, but, you know, it's an option. You don't have to fuck around with that kind of stuff anymore if you don't want to. If you're just running around with your normal character, which is what I did most of the time, then, you know, you're not going to have to run back, repair, or haul around a bunch of the same weapon so you can use it to repair. That was always a pain in the ass. The character customization, fantastic. A lot better than I remember Freeze being. Not too bad compared to a few other games I've actually. It's pretty good. You can see some horrendous, horrible masterpieces that people have made online. If you want to see just how far you can, you know, put. We're talking almost Oblivion levels here of ludicrous kind of designs. Almost. Not quite as bad. The followers are, oh my god, they are leaps and bounds better than they were in 3. I can't speak for the older games, but they now have more BioWare-esque reactions to things, and what I mean by that is your followers talk a lot more, they have a lot more to say about certain scenarios, and yes, they do have spammy kind of dialogue on occasion when they see you drop something, when they see you're holding too much stuff, all these other things, but it's not horrendous. Actually, I'll tell you what, there is one that me and a friend of mine really didn't like, is when you pick random junk up. If you have a human teammate or anyone that can speak, they will always be like, "Oh, antique collector, oh fuck you for picking that up," and that's annoying. That can get grating. But other than that, it's absolutely fine. Oh, oh yeah, and sorry, and they have their own stories as well that you can kind of follow along and do depending on how much they like you. Because yes, now your followers actually have a certain amount where they like you, to the point where they creepily kind of idolize you. So yeah. There's also the power armor, which I just mentioned a moment ago, that you do have to repair, but overall, it's not just armor that you slap on anymore, which in some respects was better because you didn't have to power the stuff with fusion cores, which you now have to do. Although, to be honest, they're littered around the map. You can get them pretty fucking easy. You can buy them, for God's sake.
Okay then. Let's stick together.
Yeah, so now you can customize the paint job on your power armor. You can customize the stats it's going to give you. You can add little things like a fucking I don't want to say a jetpack, it's more of a jump pack, I think. But, you know, still, pretty cool stuff. Oh, and one last little thing for the good section. This has taken up almost all of the 5 minutes. Your character, when you skip through dialogue now, will go, yeah, yeah, okay. Like, he completely shrugs off the people who are talking to him, and it is actually, especially the first few times you do it, it's just hilarious. So that's a good little, it's a tiny thing, but it's a good thing to add in, just for a bit of humour, really. So let's get on to the bad. The gameplay. Well, I've played for probably about 50 hours, I'd say, roughly that. And I would say after getting on to about the 30th hour and beyond, the gameplay itself started to become incredibly repetitive, and I was just kind of like, yeah, boom, 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 kill the enemies, whatever, not really too interested. So it's not completely terrible, because that was 30 solid hours of fun from the game, which is a lot more than you can say for some games these days. So that's it. It depends on you. It depends how much you're going to enjoy that. Just personally for me, it became quite repetitive. Now the story as well. How to say this? I don't want to spoil anything, but there's factions throughout the game. That's not a spoiler. I mean, you know, it's Fallout, for God's sake. There's always been a few factions here and there. I mean, it's a Bethesda game. There's always been factions. Yeah, they're not horrible. I like them. I like the personality of each of the factions. They're quite good. Their overall stories on their own are quite good, although some are much, much fucking shorter than others, which is kind of a shame. Although I can see why they've done that. They got a bit lazy. I'm going to say this. They got a bit lazy with the railroad, in my opinion. But I won't say any more. And as for the rest of them, they're fine. They're just long enough, I think, the amount of quests for it. But a real problem is actually finding out what quests... This can happen at a certain point in the story where you have to go do some stuff that's completely, like, not to do with that faction, but will give you access to the later missions. And it's... The way you choose your faction is a bit haphazard, I think. And, a lot of people are going to miss out on doing that just because maybe they haven't found one of the factions earlier on, or I don't know. It seems like a very odd way of doing it. I suppose in a certain sense it's quite dynamic and doesn't feel very forced in that respect. But I don't know. It's kind of back-ass and weird. You may like it. I'm not fond of it because it means there's a good chance, and if the PS4 trophies are anything to go by, seeing as I think it's like 1% of the people who played Fallout on it have done the railroad missions, that might tell you that, you know, they're not really difficult to understand how to get, but you can quite easily miss out on that stuff, which I don't feel is a good thing. You do get quite locked into a faction once you start like helping them at a certain stage in the story. Also, ammo. Now, ammo wasn't always a problem for me, but certainly in the late game it started being a real pain in the arse because you either had to buy loads of ammo, which always wasn't that great a deal, to be honest, unless you were selling a bunch of other stuff, but it was possible. Or, you know, you would do the usual way you'd be finding it. Now, finding it was really weird because I was using pretty generic weapons, not even the best, really, and it was just impossible to find enough ammo to keep up at some point. But in complete opposite to that, and this is why it's kind of weird, because I mean I understand if I can't get loads of ammo for specific weapons, that's fine. It would be fine if I didn't find a million fucking stim packs everywhere, which is really weird. And I wasn't playing on the easiest difficulty or anything like that. I was just playing on normal. So I imagine obviously they tone it down a bit in the higher kind of difficulties where you can't find fucking any stim packs. I get that, but I feel like the amount they've given you in normal, or the amount that just pop up in normal from enemy drops and things like that, is kind of ridiculous. There are stages where I'm running around with 30 stim packs. I can just pop them without really worrying about it because I'm fighting bandits, and fuck knows bandits drop loads of them. So I don't know. There's a bit of a weird balance going on there with items. You know, if stim packs are going to drop all the time in normal, why can't ammo types drop all the time in normal that I want? You know, I don't know. Maybe it sounds a bit spoiled. Oh, okay, this should be in the gripes section, actually. So I'm moving on to the gripes now, not the bad. My personal gripe with the factions is it really feels sometimes it's hard to want to associate yourself with them. Because while all of the factions overall seem to have an okay kind of goal, again, I'm not going to go into specifics, they also seem to always have this one little side bit that they want you to do that you're just like, well, this is kind of deplorable. We don't have to do this. There's another way, but in their eyes, no, it has to be done this way. You know, it's... a lot of the faction's leaders come off incredibly close-minded and, you know, with ridiculous kind of conclusions to things. And I suppose, in a sense, that's the point, because obviously you're going to try and side with the one you agree with the most. But overall, I don't think any of these lot are too agreeable. I don't think any of their choices are too agreeable either, because I don't know. I don't. It's hard to explain this all without spoiling the story, and I don't want to do that, and I'm not going to. But let's just say the Minutemen are the most agreeable, because they are the most neutral faction throughout the game when it comes to everybody. They just want to make the Wasteland a safe place for everybody in it. And that is something I think most players will get behind. And to be honest, I think a lot of people are going to, you know, side with them when it comes to factions, when it comes to the story as well. So anyway, that's one gripe. The second and last gripe is okay, this one's a bit personal for me. Like I said earlier, I like to collect achievements and stuff. And there's one called Benevolent Leader, which, if you collect achievements, you probably have been tearing your hair out over as well. Well, not so much, but just getting fucking annoyed with it. Basically, what you have to do is raise the happiness to 100% in a settlement. Now, you're probably thinking, well, that can't be too hard. You know, you just meet the general requirements and then boom. No, not at all. What you have to do is, at least from what I've seen from guides, is throw down 1 billion of the highest tier shops, which I believe they recommend the clinics because they make people the happiest. That's about 1,800 caps and a bunch of other materials that aren't too hard to get, but it's just the caps really that make that a pain in the arse. And yeah, throw 1 million of those down, make sure most people are working on it, make sure you've got your food just to a high enough using a specific fruit. And it's a pain in the arse. It really is. It's just, I mean, especially when you consider, I'm at a point with that achievement where I've got a nice settlement built up. It's not the standard one, so I can assign everybody to do something, which is quite important because there are NPC characters you can't assign to do stuff in story relevant bases, which can be very frustrating for this achievement. But beyond that, I just can't get 20 settlers, and I can't move another settler there either to the place I'm using. And that isn't because there's an NPC settler, like I said. That's just because the game doesn't want to let me do it. I have 10 charisma, which means you can. But basically, the way the base works is the base amount of people you can get in is 10. But for every point of charisma you've got, you can get an extra 1 person in. So I should be able to get 20 people into a settlement. However, nobody is coming to that settlement. So basically, I'm stuck as of this moment as to how to get that. And it's just going to take a lot of time of me wasting my time running around doing that bloody, well, gathering stuff for that achievement. It's kind of a pain, to be honest. I really wish they'd built that, or built the system for the happiness and the bases so that you could get that legitimately just by building a nice base. You know, something you want to build as opposed to ruining it with just sloppy kind of placement of things all over the place so you can easily see who's assigned to what. And I'm complaining too much, but that is one of my biggest gripes, that fucking achievement. It's so frustrating. It is the last one I need to get, and I'm sure I will get it, but just feels like time wasted, to be honest, because of the way they want you to get it. It's such a weird, odd way for them to have programmed it. I don't know if it's a mistake or what, but anywho, let's move on to the overall kind of view of the game, and I think, honestly, it's good. It's not a bad game at all. It's not perfect by any means, naturally. That would be quite astonishing. But I had a lot of fun in my first 30 hours, like I said earlier. The last few hours where I was hunting down achievements, the game really started to grind on me at that point, but I mean, that's kind of on me, because I was just going for achievements, so I was trying to get through it quite quickly. But overall, not bad. An alright story this time round. And similar gameplay, but improved in certain aspects. So yeah, if you liked Fallout 3, and unless you're in love with the really tiny kind of mechanics that they removed from Fallout 3, you'll probably enjoy 4 quite a lot, I'd imagine. For me personally, I'm not going to delve back into it. unless I'm trying to get the Benevolent Leader achievement or until some DLC comes out, because I feel pretty much done with the game now. I'm happy with the ending I got as well. So we'll see. We'll see when the DLC comes out, and then maybe I'll do L.O.R on that. But this L.O.R has long gone over its time. It's literally 10 minutes longer than all of the others, so that's... Oops. Anyway, I will see you guys in the next one. I'm not exactly sure what that will be. It might actually be the Tomb Raider reboot, because I just got that on PS4 and I never finished it originally. So we'll see. See you guys in the next one.